Hello chess playing shogi fans, and welcome to this video. This video is the first part of a little series that we're going to do based around Natasha's first shogi tournament. At the time I'm recording this, Natasha's about to go off to Holland to play a shogi on the beach tournament, which is looking quite strong. So we're quite intrigued how Natasha's going to do. Natasha asked me before she left, she said, would you possibly have a shogi opening for me? It's got to be easy to learn, must get me a good position, must be able to play it with both sente and gote, and it's got to be a bit, intuitive for a chess player. So I'm a little bit worried about that because you could ask me anything for chess, that would be fine, but for shogi, obviously, same standard as Natasha, so not particularly got any special knowledge, but challenge accepted, and this is what I came up with. Where do you look for information about shogi openings? Well, I think the first place that everyone goes to that is the Hidechi website, not only is there the whole course about learning shogi, how to play shogi, but there's also lots of interesting stuff on openings. One of the first openings that Natasha and I both looked at, actually because it's one of the first videos we saw on the website, was the rapid Ishida attack, which starts something like this, and then here, and quite an aggressive opening. The idea being you're going to move the rook over to the side and push the pawn, and if gote sort of prepares against that, then you end up playing this type of formation. I'm just going to play just a few random moves for gote, just to show you the structure that you aim for. It comes to something like this. Boom. We'll just play moves like this. And we end up getting this, which is called the Ishida structure. And this is supposed to be, very strong for the person who gets it. It's a good structure. The rook is covering, both the central pawn and the wing pawn. The knight is preventing, the rook from being attacked by a silver. The rook supporting a pawn advance, and also this bishop is going to put a bit of pressure. It's also cutting across the gote king as well. So it's supposed to be a good structure. And actually, I think we've both played it a little bit and got some decent results, against our opponents. The only thing about it is that I always feel. I think we're still thinking like chess players, and I think I always imagine positions just a little bit from a chess player's point of view, and I sort of think about this position in chess, and you'd be completely crazy to do this in chess. In particular, the bishop isn't on an open diagonal. The rook is blocked in by the knight. Of course, in chess, it would also be exposed to attack by a pawn or by a bishop. So, it feels a little bit odd. And, I do get worried about, the fact that my rook might never get free and I might end up with it stuck there. So was kind of looking for, for something, that just felt a little bit more natural and chess intuitive, to start with. Hopefully we'll both develop some real shogi feeling as things go on. But for now, playing stuff that sort of feels a bit natural from a chess player's perspective is, it's quite a nice thing to have if you can have it, at all. So, what I actually ended up, looking at was the following. Got inspired by a couple of Hidechi videos as well, and also once we discovered the excellent site Shogi Harbor, which is run by the first non-Japanese professional player. I think I'll try and pronounce the name, Karolina Stajinska. Really excellent site where she annotates games of top lady professional players in great detail. And yeah, I mean, it's really excellent commentary, and there are quite a few central rook strategies. And well, Natasha and I have both turned into fans of Satomi, who plays it an awful lot. So that seemed, you know, like a nice opening to play, and it also felt pretty chess intuitive, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to show you first of all from the Gote side, because well, according to Hidechi, was originally designed as a Gote opening, although Sente is also playing it in the Shogi Harbor games. So it goes here, pawn push, natural moves, and then this move. And then after this move, Gote's plan, we're just going to play some, you know, some normal, quiet, not very exciting moves with Sente, just to show what the idea is. The rook comes over here, central rook strategy, and then you set up a vanguard pawn. So this pawn, first of all, it, you know, it threatens to break, but it also blocks out this the opponent's bishop as well. And actually behind this pawn, you can activate your pieces. So, for example, if we just carry on with some natural moves like this, then we can activate our silver like this. And what's going to happen with the king? Well, your king is going to go onto the right-hand side with a Mino castle type strategy, half Mino at the start. Well, as always, this pawn's going to come up, and for example here, let's say here, and you've got your half Mino. And if you push the pawn on here, then the bishop will come here to prevent it. Now, what's the, you know, the basic idea about this? Well, you know, from a chess player's perspective, you know, the center is very, very important in chess. You know, the idea being that if you've got control of the center, you've got mobility. You can go either left to the queen side or right to the king side. And so, you know, from this point of view, having a good foothold in the center feels very nice, and you know, kind of the same things apply, right? I mean, you know, the silver can you know, move over to the right side or can move over to the left side. It can also support some pawn breaks, and you know, with the bishop clearing the second rank like that, this rook could also, you know, move to the second file or the third file or the fourth file even. You know, it feels like a nice balanced position, really. So, you know, from a chess player's perspective, you know, feels pretty good. And, you know, you can do this, you know, either with Gote, or you can do it with Sente as well. Now, the interesting thing about it, of course, you know, you want to learn as little as possible. But there are a few little tricky things. And actually, mainly if you try and play it with Sente. Because, so I had this a few times actually. So with Sente, you know, we're always starting by, you know, opening the line of the bishop, which feels reasonable. Opponent plays there mostly. And there's a little problem. If I play here with Sente, then actually Gote can just play this move and drop the bishop. Yeah, I mean, actually, well, the bishop's just going to move back and promote, and that's just going to work. I mean, if I drop the bishop here, the bishop can move away here and promote. If I drop the bishop here, then the bishop moves over here and promotes, and you know, this would probably be a little gain for Gote. The difference, the reason is, if you play this with, if you play the central strategy with Gote, then actually having a move less adds an extra little tactical element to the position, because after here, you play here. Why can't Sente take and drop the bishop? Well, as Hidechi points out, you can actually play this move. Sorry, terribly sorry, you can actually play this move. That's the one. And this bishop cannot retreat back there because you've actually moved the pawn in front of the rook already. So the bishops have to be exchanged and all is relatively well with the world. So with if you want to play the central strategy with Sente, you've got to be a little bit careful. Now, in one of my games, with enormous cunning and understanding, I played this move, thinking, well, I'll cover this square and then move my pawn on. Unfortunately, this should have allowed this little idea, which you've always got to watch out for in the opening, when this bishop forks both pawns. Because actually when you've done your ranging rook strategy, well, you've actually unprotected the pawn in front of the rook. So, well, the bishop's going to take one of those pawns and promote. But then I saw a game on Shogi Harbor where I think it was Satomi played this move first. And I think the idea must be, this is just my beginner's appraisal of it, that if you play like that, you can play the rook first, and then afterwards you can move a pawn, or move this pawn first, and then move the open line of the bishop, and you've got your desired central rook strategy. So that is one important point. The other important point, and I'll show it from the when you're playing central strategy from the Gote point of view, is well, quick attacks on the side with this pawn. And Hidechi goes into this in some detail in his videos, so it's well worth looking at. I actually had a game with this, funnily enough, and yeah, it was actually well, it confused me ever so slightly. The key point is that the immediate attack is actually not really what Sente wants, because we've got this typical bishop drop. Now, if the rook takes a knight and promotes, we take and promote, and it looks like it might be a little bit tricky for Gote, because you could even drop there, for example, and then drop here and promote. Two promoted pieces, and not that far away from the from your king. However, there's a big point to all this, and that is namely that you've taken a knight, and you can drop a knight on here, which both cuts the line of the horse to the lance, which means that the lance can be captured, and perhaps more importantly, this knight attacks two unprotected pawns close to the opponent's king, and of course one of those pawns is also attacked by Gote's horse. So that is supposed to be actually quite dangerous, whereas the Gote king can run around to the side there. It's not too bad. So this is actually supposed to be not that clever. But yeah, my opponent played back here, and now I thought I was displaying my my great understanding and memory of what Hidechi had said by not dropping the pawn on here, which is obvious, attacking the rook. Obviously, if the rook takes, then the bishop would take and promote, which would be very good news. But the rook moves away. It looks quite strong having this, but well, Hidechi in this video and also in his numerous side pawn picker opening videos, which is quite similar structure to this, he recommended this move. The point being that it's like threat is stronger than the execution in chess. This pawn is actually threatening to move on, attack the rook, but become a token at the same time. So a promoted pawn, which is equivalent to a gold, which is obviously very dangerous. And you can't protect against that because this one hangs. If you've seen the Hidechi videos, you know that this is the best move. And then I play rook there, and then my opponent played here. I think Hidechi suggests here, but anyway, this achieves the same thing. And yeah, I mean, I started thinking about the position here, feeling quite good about myself in the beginning, having remembered theory and having executed it. But actually, I became a little bit worried. Because, for example, just assume that I play a random non-useful move like this, then I was very worried about this bishop drop. So this bishop is threatening to capture this pawn on the 8th file. But if I protect it with a sensible move, like for example here, Well, first of all, this pawn is hanging here, but I think you could probably do it even cleverer and drop a pawn on here. And after rook takes, you could take on here. And then forking rook and forking pawn, and this bishop's going to promote next move. So that actually looked quite awkward. And I was looking at various stuff. You know, for example, could I play a useful move like here? Strong players just retain your coughing for the moment, but you know that seemed like a sensible move to me at the time. Protecting this pawn, and you know the idea being that if the bishop drops, then I can move a rook here and protect all my pawns. Well, there are a number of problems to this. First of all, I was concerned about this move, dropping a pawn, takes. He takes, forking, and then he's going to promote. And also, what went unnoticed in the game that I played for quite some moves, slightly embarrassingly, is that dropping the silver like this in a sort of a very early Mino, well, you can't do this when there's a bishop drop to be had, because I think this bishop drop will probably be quite strong. So, yeah, I mean, so I was actually slightly puzzled and confused about this position, and actually, I managed to get an engine working on this GUI, an engine called Giku, which I don't know how strong it is, but whatever it is, it's certainly much stronger than me, much stronger than me, I think, and it suggested that after here. Sente might actually drop the bishop here, with the idea of rook there, bishop promotes, and well, I promote and make a token, and it was claiming that that Sente stood very nicely here. I think it was dropping here in actual fact, which was surprising to me, I have to say. But well, at any rate, it seems like there's you know, a number of dangerous bishop drops, and I think my engine was actually recommending to come here. Anyway, and then do something clever like getting the bishop there. I mean, the essential aim is that Goethe is going to give up one of these pawns, but you know, get some moves like the rook in here and the knight coming in, and well, in general, it would be good compensation. You know, that would be the general idea. I don't remember enough, I'm afraid, to give you the full story. But that's the basic idea. The basic idea was that you know, this sort of immediate pawn push was quite risky for Sente. So yeah, the recommendation, and I'd recommend you watch the Hidechi videos. You know, there's various things about here, and also I think that this move was the Hidechi recommendation as well. And you know, I think there's you know, in general, there's going to be some kind of fight about. In this position, when can Goethe actually get this pawn move in which he wants? Because at that moment, when the bishop is blocked, then Sente might have the chance to play a move like this. So you know, there's sometimes when it might work, sometimes when it might not work, and you might want to get the gold over here first, just to cover some squares, you know, just in case this this break actually happens. But that's you know, one of the fights, certainly if you play this from the Goethe side. But that was the, you know, the basic thing that I was suggesting then to Natasha, is that with just go for a central pawn strategy with Sente starting with this move, and then the idea simply is that try and get your vanguard pawn, try and get your silver in active as quickly as possible, nice and central, like this, and then go for the old Mino castle to get your king safe. There we are. And then if the pawn pushes, you bring the bishop to stop the advance, and then well, we'll be able to have a look at maybe attacking with a silver towards the the king's side of the board, or maybe even swinging the rook over and pushing one of the pieces on the other side of the board, on the rook side of the board. And but it looks like, you know, generally quite safe and interesting idea. So, I mean, I'm sure, you know, as always, the normal disclaimers apply. You know, this is kind of the blind leading the blind. This is just me looking at a couple of videos and trying to half remember it and you know, and then explain it to someone else. I'm sure that you know, the move orders that we're playing are you know, are rather unsubtle, and so would you know, allow would allow the opponent to you know, probably take action in some, you know, concrete way that wouldn't be able if we chose more subtle move orders. It's exactly the same thing in chess, but well, it seemed like a decent starting point. So this is what we thought of, you know, we thought of together. So well, we'll see in hopefully in subsequent videos how that worked out. Just before the tournament, Natasha's partner, Matthew Selby, interviewed Natasha to find out how she was feeling. Now, of course, as a consummate chess professional, Natasha knows that meticulous physical preparation is essential to a good performance. So how had she prepared herself for the first game?
A little bit of swimming, and then a very nice breakfast in the hotel, including omelette and pancake and all sorts of traditional Dutch breakfast.
And now for shogi preparation. Had Natasha spent sleepless nights trying to remember what I'd prepared for her?
So I'm going to move my rook. So not a static rook, I'm going to do a, what do you call it, roving rook.
Rampaging rook.
What is it called? Rampaging rook?
Don't
No,
know.
I think ranging rook. Okay. A ranging rook.
And finally, a quick word from Natasha just before it starts, and then it was time for business.
This is me outside for just a moment. It's actually quite windy today, but you can, I think, see the beach in the background. Let me hold this video so you can see the beach. I just got there's the sea. It's a little bit wavy because it's windy, and there's lots of people out on the beach today. I'm going to go out there in a little bit just to get ready for my games.
Natasha's first day went really well. She scored 2 out of 3. She beat a one-dan player in the second round and lost to the eventual winner, Bart de Schepper, in the third round. I actually got a message from Twanberg, who's one of the strongest Dutch players, who said that Natasha's style was very attacking. Well, I think anyone who's seen Natasha play chess will sort of not be surprised at that. Anyway, here's Natasha talking about her first round.
Now, what was the opening? He was centate and I was gote. And I didn't get a very good opening. He got a very good opening. He played quite fast. He was well ahead of me on the clock, and he got an advantage. There was a game where there were lots of bishop forks, lots of bishops forking rooks, some by me and some by him, and we did some swaps of rooks for bishops as well. So I think in the end I was playing a 4th file rook in that game, and he got an attack at first, but he gave me material for his attack, and at some point then I was getting an attack too, and then he did these things, and this is what I've got to look out for, is where he has a bishop on the same diagonal as my king, and I've got the pawn blocking, and he managed to do one of these ones where he puts the knight in to give a check, and it's always really, really scary, and that's happened before, so I need to definitely watch out for that. But I was lucky in this game that he couldn't do a checkmate, he just got a check, and he gave away some pieces.
So Natasha's second day went not quite as well. I think she won one game, she lost 2 others, one of which was to Felix McPeak, who's somebody that we know from the London Shogi Club, a strong English player, one dan. The only game I have actually, unfortunately, is one that Natasha lost, but she sent it to me. so I don't think she minds me showing it. This was against the winner of the tournament, Bart de Schepper. So it's actually quite interesting. You may recognise a little bit of stuff, funnily enough. So Natasha was Sente and Bart was Gote, and Natasha started off as I recommended. Look at that, playing exactly the same moves that I said, slightly different order. She always likes playing the silver first and then moving the king later, but it transposes to pretty much the same thing. This move again, bishop stopping the pawn from advancing. Silver came out, and this early silver advance, supported by the bishop, attacks this pawn on this vanguard pawn on. Let's have a look. That's 5e, I believe. Which looks a little bit tricky, since I mean, Sente can't bring the silver out to 5g, because then this pawn will be hanging. However, amazingly enough, we'd seen a game of Satomi in this line. This is apparently known theory, or what do they call it, Yoseki. So Natasha was actually quite well prepared for this. So the game continues in standard fashion, and then after this we almost reached the game of Satomi against Kato, which is to be seen on Shogi Harbour. I think in that game there was I think the golds and maybe an extra pawn move had been made, but the tactic for Sente is exactly the same. You go here, and if takes, you come here, with the cunning idea being that if Gote then takes on here, we can just do a bishop exchange, and then I'm sure you see it, bishop drop, forking king and forking the rook. It's a very cunning tactic. The interesting thing about it is that in the game, in the Satomi Kato game, Gote went this way. In the actual game, Bart went this way. And actually, we get the same trick, because, again, if the silver were taken, you'd exchange off the bishops and fork, this time on this square, on 5e. So what actually happens is that Sente actually gets back the pawn, and the silver's in quite a dangerous attacking position. So you could almost say that this was 30 moves of preparation. There we are. I mean, I've prepared Natasha at chess a few times, but I don't think I've ever had this success rate that I've had in shogi. So there we are. Very proud of that. Unfortunately, I mean, still not an easy position, of course, still very unclear. And I think here Natasha went started, or just didn't find a good way to proceed. I was thinking about maybe dropping a pawn on here. That looked quite interesting. There was also the idea, I think, of going rook here and bringing the rook around to 2f, just to try and attack the pawn in front of the king. Natasha played, I believe, this move. And the pawn up here, but somehow didn't quite manage to find a way through. And after this happened, it suddenly started getting awkward for Natasha. That there's lots of space in the Sente position. And it's got to be said, the Gote king as well. It's been repaired, really. It looks quite a bit safer now. No, sorry, I believe the rook went over to here, and then takes there, opening the line of the bishop, attacking the lance. Natasha dropped a pawn, and just getting harried an awful lot. Not really finding any good place to put the pieces, and just finding it hard to coordinate some attack. And now this one comes in. So here I think probably Gote was well on top, and and the game carried on a while. I think I lost track of the score at some stage about how it was fitting together. I couldn't quite piece it together. But, well, as you can see, I think Gotte's doing very well here, and Gotte eventually won. And I think also won the tournament with 6 out of 6. So, you know, obviously in very good form there. So that was the only game we have, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I lost from Natasha. I'd love to have had one of her wins to show you. But that was the end of Natasha's first shogi tournament, which 3 out of 6, a win against you know, one very strong player. And I think she had a wonderful time. So, well, you know, I'm a bit jealous. I definitely want to play one as well. So, well, we'll have a look around to see what we can do. And, well, if we play another shogi tournament, and if you've enjoyed this little report, then we'll try and do some more little reports like that as well. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed this account of Natasha's first shogi tournament. Keep posted. We're going to do lots more, hopefully shogi videos and also some chess videos as well. Don't worry. Okay, see you around.